Ho! Come on.
After rewatching The Sopranos for the 4th time along with every single video essay about the show on YouTube, something clicked for me. And it makes every scene, every word, every slice of gabagool and the ending that much more great. The Sopranos portrays the ever-degrading mob culture and how it's perceived by the mob boss Tony Soprano. Now, I don't write nothing down, so I'll keep this short and sweet. Every shot that doesn't directly feature Tony Soprano simply does not exist. No, don't click off yet, no.
Always with the scenarios.
Now think about it. It makes so much more sense this way. Most of the scenes without Tony show events which eventually, in one way or another, he finds out about. Scenes that don't contain Tony's physical presence might just be his ideas and reflections of what he perceived to have happened at some point in time. They're just structured in a linear way to make the plot coherent. Now let me give you a couple of 3 examples. Let's take the fan favorite episode from season 3, say it with me, Pine Barrens. The episode shows Chrissy Moltisanti and Paulie Galtieri collecting money from a Russian mobster. They end up beating him up for causing the Cuban Missile Crisis.
That was real? I saw that movie. I thought it was bullshit.
Then they take him to a forest where he escapes and shenanigans ensue. The slapstick adventures of Chrissy and Paulie border on downright absurdity, the wacky characteristics of both men amplified by 100. Given the absurdity of the situation, this seems like a legitimate way of how Tony might have imagined it after getting the phone call. For example, Paulie shoots the Russian in the head and the guy still runs away. Tony gets this exact bit of information recounted to him later. As for the scenes that contain events which aren't directly recounted to Tony, he might as well have imagined them. It's not hard to believe Tony might imagine Paulie and Chrissy misunderstanding his words over poor connection, them accidentally shooting a deer, or eating condiments from packets. In Tony's headcanon, this aligns with legitimate, if not exaggerated, characteristics of Paulie and Chrissy. To better illustrate my point, this is a restructured edit as it might have happened from Tony's POV. I also added a wacky transition because if they can do it, I can do it too.
This guy cannot come back to tell this story. You understand?
I hear you.
There he is, Paulie.
Tone? Tone, you there?
Fuck!
Motherfucker!
Furthermore, let's take another scene from season 4, episode 6, Everybody Hurts. Tony calls Christopher to meet up at a discreet location to discuss future plans, as Christopher happily obliges and gets there sober as soon as possible, and everybody lives happily ever after. Psych! Chrissy still has a fucking heroin needle in his arm. As they meet up, Chrissy puts his Hanna-Barbera character walk on with a big smile on his face. Tony asks if he'd been drinking and Chrissy feeds into that idea. Tony does not figure out that Chrissy is high right there and then, but gets him to confess just 2 episodes later. Now let's reconstruct it from Tony's POV again.
T, okay, I snorted a little H. I was out on my collections and I just wanted to come down so I could get some sleep.
Surprised they have such a long history of thousands of years doing this.
Oh?
Maybe in 20 minutes in the old Webendorfer factory parking lot.
You got it. Vacuum cleaners too?
No, Apache's got a buyer for those. You been drinking?
This thought experiment also aids greatly in explaining the supernatural parts of the show. If you put Paulie's legendary Virgin Mary sighting right after it gets recounted to Tony, it makes perfect sense as part of Tony's imagination. Check it out.
I was alone to meet Eddie Lind. I saw the Virgin Mary.
Many other scenes make sense under this premise. Livia's and Uncle Junior's plot against Tony, or the shooting of Billy Leotardo by that animal Blondero, 47. He was just a kid. These and most other events in the show are eventually found out by Tony. As we go through these examples, there are a couple of scenes that challenge this idea. Not every event in the show gets found out by Tony Soprano. In particular, Vito's Johnny Cakes adventures. Vito Spatafori leaves New Jersey in light of recent outings as a homosexual, which, in the context of the show, attracts major scrutiny from his mob associates. Vito arrives in New Hampshire and immediately starts a relationship with a local diner owner named Jim Johnny Cakes. The directing of this season 6 multi-episode plotline, along with the way it's shot, makes it feel like a fantasy. This particular plotline is noted for being one of the more unbelievable plotlines in the series, given its fast pacing along with the context and events that happen around it. But what if I tell you it is a fantasy? Just not one you expect. From Tony's POV, Vito just disappears into thin air right after being outed as a homosexual. It would make sense if Tony's mob-coded ideas about homosexuality led to him cooking up a sort of fantasy. A fantasy where Vito has sexual relations with other men. Right in some nearby state like New Hampshire. It even sounds like something Tony would begrudgingly utter. He's probably out there somewhere in New Hampshire having poppers and weird sex with that gay guy. Same principle applies for the other things that slip by Tony. Take all the events that happen while he's in a coma. Take for example Paulie and Vito stealing $1 million from the cartel, which according to the mob rule they are supposed to split with Tony's wife Carmela. They decide not to do that as there's a chance Tony might never wake up and that would be a waste of money. However, once he does, they change their minds and rush to give Carmela a share of their money. In Tony's retrospect, this could be a manifestation of distrust towards Paulie and Vito based on their later betrayal and suspected betrayal respectively. This and all other details that Tony doesn't get recounted to him can be chalked up to his imagination. What we know from the show, especially thanks to his dream sequences, is that Tony has quite the creative mind. And for the final argument, the knot that ties this whole theory together. If you haven't watched the show, I strongly suggest clicking off the video. This will spoil the ending. If we are truly in Tony's POV, if everything we see is coming from his mind, then what would happen if Tony were to be killed? No more wacky misadventures of Chrissy and Paulie, no more fantasies of Vito, no more dream sequences. Just cold, dark nothingness. I'm not gonna get graphic beyond that. The idea of it simply repulses me. I highly suggest you rewatch the show with this idea in mind. This theory of ours, it's not meant to be taken literally. We're not making a western here. But it does put a new spin on an all-time classic. It only further cements the greatness of this show and the character portrayed by the late great James Gandolfini. Thank you for watching, leave a comment down in the comment section and see you in another 5 years.
You're not gonna believe this. He killed 16 Czechoslovakians. Guy was an interior decorator.
His house looked like shit.